So this morning, Arlo wakes us up at like 6 every morning, no matter what. And my head was pounding this morning. And it was worrisome because I'm like, Christ, we're recording in 3-4 hours. And sometimes it takes a little bit before that gets squared away.
So you did your drugs.
Well, so I did my drugs. But what I'm getting at is then right before, like I always check myself in the mirror before we start recording. And I realized I forgot to brush my teeth.
Oh,
I know. So I was like, why the fuck? Like,
you had some yellow.
I did. So I just went and took care of that.
Tooth cheese.
Do you ever not forget, but like if you're like sick, like that's the last thing on my fucking mind, you know?
You know, my check is like, am I leaving the house? And I'm not saying I don't brush my teeth if I don't leave the house, but it's a really easy thing on a regular Monday through Friday. I'm going to work, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm going out the door. But if I'm just like, I'm going to go downstairs and make a cup of coffee and maybe then cook some breakfast, it starts to get away from me because I know I'm not planning on leaving the house.
Well, and then it's lunchtime, and then you're like, well, I'm going to eat, and then you just don't think about it, you know?
Well, I can't brush my teeth before I eat.
Yeah, right.
But I do, actually. That is then when I go, ugh.
And I just did.
And my kids are bad about it. So they'll forget. And we'll make ourselves late. Go brush your teeth. You cannot leave the house until you brush your teeth.
Why are kids so, I was the same way. I brush my teeth, and then you go up there, and the toothbrush is just like, she'll run it underwater. But it's like, but you didn't put toothpaste in, actually just brush your fucking teeth. Because then you go to the dentist.
I went to the dentist yesterday.
Did you? Any cavities?
I did go to the dentist. No cavities, no new ones.
Good.
And I said, but my teeth have been feeling sensitive. And they gave me the Sensodyne. She said, just rub it on your tooth, like wherever you feel the sensitivity, and then go to bed with it on your tooth. And apparently, so there must be something in it that's going into the tooth.
I use sensitive toothpaste, so I'll either use Sensodyne or like the Colgate sensitive tooth. Yeah. It helps a little bit. I mean, it's
getting old.
It's better than I know. It's better than nothing. But like, I don't know. Do you brush your tongue? Do you brush your
sure? Oh yeah, I feel like that's where the bad breath comes from.
Do you turn it, and does your toothbrush have the the scraper?
No.
Yeah, I got the scraper.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Or they make it's like this metal bar that you put
you actually scrape and you just like squeeze
it down.
Off. That I should get one of those.
That's every time what the porn star use. Like every porn star recommends that one.
Okay, yeah, but every single time I do it, it starts to get close, and I go. Ugh.
Oh yeah, it definitely makes
I think you're not doing it right unless you gag yourself,
because it definitely will make you gag.
Yeah.
But speaking of mornings, and you know what you normally do in the morning when you're driving to work is you listen to radio. If you're not listening to music, or at least back in the day, you would listen to the radio.
I say I don't listen to the radio anymore.
But I used to, and you and I are both, in Delaware, and we both listened to the Preston and Steve show.
Every morning when I was listening to the radio.
So who do we have on today?
We've got Nick McIlwain coming on the show today. I'm excited for that.
And Preston and Steve has been a big part of our life, Christ, since I was a child, man, even back to like the Y100 days. So, I mean, Nick McIlwain has been a long time, I feel like, radio producer in the Philadelphia area, over 2 decades. But a lot of people, I don't want to say most, but a lot of people know who and what the Preston and Steve show is, and Nick isn't part of that anymore. But
I'm excited to get his take on
just
how all that works.
Yeah.
Because as much as I listen to radio, I don't know shit about it.
How the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Welcome to Daddy's the Podcast, featuring Eric and Greg. Join them each week as they hang with a new guest to talk about who they are, their why, and the stories that come up along the way. Thank you for being a part of the Daddy's community.
Is it weird to have your voice pumped through millions of speakers every day?
Initially, yeah, and then you get really used to it. And I think one of the most beautiful things about that show is that we were so comfortable with one another that you don't pay attention to that very much. And I would often forget, not that we were on air, but that we had an audience, that we were speaking to people. And then I'd get a random text from a friend saying, I can't believe you shared that story, or I run into somebody, or months later, I'd be in an event or something like that. And they're like, hey, you remember when you said that thing about, Miss Whiteside at Hillside Elementary? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, I had her too. And she was awful. And it's just like, these connections that you make with people, it's a very intimate relationship with a radio show or a podcast. And um sometimes it was weird, but it was never. I became very comfortable with it very quickly. And really a lot of that had to do with how I started at MMR, working with Pierre Robert and working in the promotions department, and then working with Preston and Steve. I'll say this until the day I die. I got to work for Pierre for 3 years, and then I got to work for Preston and Steve for 21. And name three better people in radio to work for. Like it's just, I totally. It was earned. I think I deserved to be there, but I lucked out in the people that I got to work with on so many levels. Not least of which was like all three of those guys are just professionals. They're very, very good at what they do. So they were really good role models, and so that helped set like a lot of expectations for me mentally, and for my ability to do it for as long as I did. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's certainly were weird times or weird repercussions or things that come back on you or whatever, and you learn that as you go. But I loved being able to speak into a microphone and connect to an audience and have what you said matter to somebody or make somebody laugh or whatever, entertain somebody or just get them out of their head for a few minutes while they're in the car in the morning.
Yeah, like, were there ever things that that you couldn't talk about? Like, were
Yeah.
there like things where it's like, nope, not allowed,
Oh,
but
sure.
like
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
really want to talk about, but just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, for everybody. And so, especially with Preston and Steve, but it certainly happened with Pierre. I wasn't on the air very much with Pierre. I was more of as his producer and his assistant, and it was the Pierre Robert show. So I worked for him to help him produce his show, and I'd be on occasionally. But with Preston and Steve in particular, like with any of us on the show, we would say something to one another in confidence or, as a group or whatever, and be like, by the way, not for on air. Like we'd have to clarify it. Because if we didn't, we'd be like, oh yeah, Nick told me that thing the other day, or, Casey shared this thing or whatever.
How'd that
So
vasectomy go?
right,
Whoops.
right. I mean, but more than a decade now ago, I got divorced, and I didn't want to talk about it initially. And we all have personal things that we go through. And at some point, Preston came to me, probably a year after I got divorced, or it had been a while, and it wasn't like completely private. I just didn't feel like talking about it on air. I just didn't feel like making it public. And Preston asked me, he was like, "Hey, I think it's time." Or are you comfortable with this, with us talking about it on air? Because I think that it's time. I think it's something that we could share and talk about. But the way that he approached me about it was so made me feel comfortable and respectful. And it was just like, we know this is a part of your life. We're used to it now. I think you're used to it now. And that was one of the things about the Preston and Steve show is like, we are who we were on air. There was not a whole lot of characters or, everybody kind of was who they are in real life. Some radio shows aren't like that. And I'm sure you guys have come across them as listeners and podcast world and whatever. People amp it up or they change who they are or it's an act. And I'm not nearly a good enough actor to be able to pull any of that stuff off. I'm a terrible actor. So I'm much better at being natural and being who I am. But it took me a while for that in that particular example to be comfortable talking about it on air and being public about it.
Yeah, for sure. Did you find it therapeutic at all to be able to then talk about it after so long, or was it uncomfortable or just okay?
Both. The show was often therapeutic because you would be able to relate to people um, and talk about things and maybe connect with somebody who'd been through similar things or whatever. But I always found that it was important to draw the distinction between the show being therapeutic and actual therapy. And a real therapist is talking directly back to you, and I've been in and out of therapy my whole life, um, I find it enormously helpful. I personally believe everybody should be in therapy. So yeah, sometimes it was. I connected with some friends um, prior to talking about it on air. And just from my own perspective, that was a lot more helpful. People that were able to, that had also been divorced, that were able to walk me through it and show me that life was okay and whatever. So there were other examples of therapeutic and therapy. I was in therapy too, that were more helpful than just talking about it on air. But Eric, to answer your question a little bit differently, I was also it was something that I could be like, yes, this is who I am. This is, not that not that I was hiding it, but I'm like, all right, yeah, I've been through a divorce and here I am. And this is Nick from Preston and Steve Show, who's also now a single dad. And so like that was helpful in just being true to myself and on air as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think though, like, it's nice that you got to do it on your own terms. I'll tell you, I used to have a job, and I loved this individual, but she always said something, and it always irked me, and it was, you need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And yes, to a certain degree, but like there's just some things that we're all not ready to share right now, and so like that used to irk the shit out of me. But I do think it's nice being able to, especially now, I've noticed it a lot. I'm a big Smartless fan, and they always talk about like seeking help and therapy and it being more, I don't want to say acceptable now, but I feel like there was that stigma before. Like I never wanted to talk about needing to see a therapist because I felt like people would
therapy.
Right. And that's how I felt.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. But I think it's nice too, being able to listen to these people you look up to and hearing those stories. And it's like, well, they're not so different than I am. And then being able to kind of take that a step above and being able to get, seek the help that you need, is great. It's great. So I'm glad that
Greg, you really do like those guys. You should get like,
I should get their hat.
You should get a hat or something, like some kind of branding for that podcast. It's great.
Right. That would be This whole episode was just a plug.
This episode is brought to you by Smartless.
Yeah, we'll be right back after these messages.
My wife and I recently started rewatching, and we've watched it a bunch of times, Arrested Development, and the first 2 or 3 seasons of that show are just so brilliant. But I was thinking about that last night because Job and Michael, and Will Arnett and Jason Bateman are great together on that show, but they've worked together now for 25, 26 years, if you include Arrested Development and Smartless. And it's really cool to see sort of the beginning of their friendship on that show, and then they're acting and it's goofy and whatever, but like, those guys were hanging out and now they're doing this, and it's impressive. And they work. They're so funny together, that dynamic between the two of them, and then Ed and Sean Hayes, and like it's a great group dynamic. Which, not to make this about me, but like that was one of the things that we had on Preston and Steve, is like it was a group dynamic with everybody that we were all comfortable with one another, and sort of, just to echo what we were talking about earlier, like feeling comfortable with yourself and your coworkers is a blessing. And for you to describe that person that made you want you to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, like, fuck off, I'll do it on my own time, like
right.
Maybe I'll be uncomfortable occasionally, but it's not going to be on your schedule. It'll be when I'm ready to be uncomfortable. And so don't force that on me. One other quick thing about therapy, when you were describing it, I have an older white conservative friend, and I love him dearly. He's a really good, kind person. But anytime anybody would ever talk about therapy, he would always have to qualify with, "Well, that's okay." Yeah, I know it's okay. Like, you don't have to tell me that it's okay, And it's like, we went to couples therapy, and some people do that. And like, dude, don't qualify it. Just acknowledge that people go to therapy, and that therapy is good for people, and don't give them the out that they're not seeking from you in the first place. It's just like, yeah, I know. That's where I'm going.
Well, I'll tell you, I've had to, and I'm guilty of in the past, and I feel like I've gotten better. Like, my wife will say, "Hey, this is, I'm feeling anxious about this," and I'll say something, and realizing now that I really should just shut the fuck up, and it's more like I think she just wants to talk, and
that's a good rule in general.
Because, like, what am I going to
say?
Well, did you try did you try not worrying about that? And she's like, well, obviously that I wouldn't do it.
She just goes, oh,
yeah.
duh.
And
I
Eric
don't know
knows
why I
Jenna
didn't think
very
of
well.
that.
So like, like when
she's just pissed. She's
Yeah,
gonna be
and then
mad
she's
as soon
just
as you give
mad.
any recommendation. That's not what
So-
she's looking for.
But I've realized like, sometimes the best thing is to just shut up and listen, and just listen to what that person has to say. But Nick, to kind of touch on what you were saying, I think that's again why people love Smartless and why people love Preston and Steve, because it's real. And I think that's what sells. Like, at least for me, when I'm listening to something, if it seems fucking corny as hell, I'm turning it off, and I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I can turn on the TV and watch people act, so like I think that's sexy, like that's what I want in my life. People being real.
It's a really good point. Yeah. And cheesy works for some people and some shows, and fake stuff or forced things or whatever. And I think there's an audience for that. I know there's an audience for that, but especially in and around Philadelphia, New York, Boston, DC, the Northeast corridor or whatever, like real cuts through. And so, I've lived in a few different places in the country, and there's a reason why Action News lasted for as long as it has. And the Cecily Tynan announced her retirement recently, and like people responded to that because Cecily is who she is on air, and she's a weather person. She's a meteorologist, but people are like, oh man, like she's a part of my life. And, the reason that Pierre's death was so impactful for so many people, the reason why Preston and Steve have connected for as long as they have, like that, those things don't happen by accident, and they really don't happen by accident in Philadelphia. And so, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
And it's weird because like we're all pretty like close in a sense, but like so many people when Pierre passed, like they were hurt by it, and they weren't even on this coast, which shows you the reach and the impact that he had on. I've known the name Pierre Robert my entire life.
Yeah.
Like my dad listened to him, so my entire life, and that was just the norm for me. Eric and I, Christ, we would go out to lunch and listen all the way back just to see what vinyl was spinning, like every day. Like we would literally go out to eat. So it's just, I don't know, it's just cool. I guess it's really cool, the impact that it has on us. I don't know.
Yeah, we could talk about this all day if you wanted, but his death was enormously shocking. He was fine the day before. I saw him. I sat closest to him when we would do the crossover at the end of the Preston and Steve show, and so I was only a few feet away from him, and I saw him up close, every day or almost every day, because he was late occasionally, and would sometimes miss the crossover. But on Tuesday, he was fine, and I was looking at him, and there were mornings where he would come in, and I could tell he'd been out the night before, been to a show, or he looked a little haggard or whatever. But that Tuesday, he just looked completely normal. He looked great, and then Wednesday, he died Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, and Wednesday he didn't make the crossover, which was not abnormal. But he was never a no-show. He would always let either Ryan know, Ryan Shuttleworth, his producer, or Chuck D'Amico, our old boss and program director at MMR. Somebody would know.
Yeah.
And then just the longer that morning went on, where nobody had heard from Pierre, it was really bizarre to get nothing, and alarming. And so the impact of his death has, I feel it every day. Somebody reaches out and messages me on Instagram, or I something happens in my life where I think about him, or I want to text him or whatever. And he and I were really close. It's really, really hard not having him in my life, not having him in my wife's life, my son's life. I mean, in my first marriage, he announced me and my ex-wife. My parents listened to him. So one of the caveats when I worked for him, one of the requirements when I said, hey, I want to be your producer and your assistant, was except that my mom really wants you to come over for dinner. And so I'll do this job, but my mom
One
wants to make
caveat.
my mom wants to make you a vegetarian dinner, which he said okay, and which she did, and so my parents became close, and my dad has had some health issues over the last few years, and Pierre, would go to see him, and so, but the one of the most remarkable things about Pierre was that if you knew him or he was a part of your life, he did that for so many people over and over and over again. His impact was just so vast, so wide, so long lasting on so many people. And so since his passing, I think that's part of the reason why it's just been so impactful. It's like just thousands, hundreds, tens of thousands. I don't know. Like so many people were hurt by losing him, and it's just one story after another. So, man, to leave a legacy that remotely touches the legacy that Pierre left behind is a goal in life. I think for anybody, just the generosity and kindness and decency. It was his birthday the other day, on August 1st, and I went back on MMR for the first time since I left, which was right before Thanksgiving, and was on Jason Fayon's show, and we were telling Pierre stories and laughing and reminiscing because Jason was his producer after I left. So, yeah, man, I love that man so much, and I miss him every day. Think about him all the time. Um, but the last thing I'll say about it now, unless you guys want to keep talking about it, but there are so many like Pierre segments and voice clips and funny moments that and I mean this in the least cheesy way possible. Like he really does live on. Like you hear his voice, you hear funny things that he said or impactful moments or interviews or whatever. And so he resurfaces all the time. And that's cool. Like it's like, oh yeah, there's a Pierre moment, and sometimes it's sad to know that they're never going to happen again. But they do live on. They really do. And that's cool.
I don't think I'm going to look at a vinyl and not think of him every time.
Yeah.
I mean, because it doesn't happen enough in my life
Totally.
where I would see it. But anytime anybody talks about it, he's who I'm thinking of.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, radio in general,
Yeah,
well, exactly. And I'll tell you, I don't think I've listened to like 93.3 since he passed. I think I haven't just.
Yeah, I'd taken a break. I listen to a podcast or some music. I subscribe to any Apple Music, so I'm like, oh, let me put this playlist on. I really enjoy that. But anytime I go back, I love it. And I did go back. Actually, there was a time, when I learned, and I went back and I heard you guys on MMR saying like having people call in, and there was I don't know how long you guys did this for. It was at least a full week that I heard of, hey, people call in with your Pierre stories. And it was like, not to go back to therapeutic, but like people were it was just like a time where people could feel together and share and, kind of make it feel good and, kind of make his legacy live on more.
Yeah. You know what's really fucked up about that, Eric, is that like after Pierre died, we did some great radio. And it's just like, I think and I hope we did him proud, like Bob Weir passed away after Pierre's passing, after Pierre died, and Pierre was a big Grateful Dead fan, and people couldn't tune into Pierre to hear him talking about Bobby Weir dying. But people could tune in to us or call in or share stories. I got, thousands of emails and direct messages and whatever else. And I was proud of the radio that we did, even the day after he died, as awful as it was and as sad as it was, and we were all crying and whatever. It like, that it was like, we're going to honor this man the best way we know how, and maybe the only way we know how, which is to put on some good programming and do really good radio. And I think that we did. I know that we did. My therapist has told me to stop saying I think when I know. I know we did good radio. And
be sure.
I'm really proud of the weeks after he passed away, and then Camp Out for Hunger, which was my last big event working for Preston and Steve, was hard because Pierre wasn't there every day to follow us. But man, we dedicated that whole week to him, and people just, I think that week, and that if you don't know, that money and the food raised goes directly to Phil Abundance, which was a cause that was near and dear to Pierre's heart as well. it was an enormously successful week for Phil Abundance and for Camp Out for Hunger, in part because people wanted to find some way to honor Pierre, and they did the whole week long. And so that felt great, So as shitty as it is and was to lose him, there were some things that happened afterwards that were good for society, good for radio, good for us to get, help us get through. And it's been crazy. It's almost, what is it, 10 months, I guess. He died on October 29th, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like right before Halloween.
Oh, yeah. And then I left the radio station a month after. Kathy was let go earlier in the year. Kathy Romano, she was her last show was in May of 2025. So MMR went through a lot of changes in 2025, and I would never compare myself to Pierre. So his impact and legacy was a lot deeper and longer lasting than mine was. He was at the radio station for 42 or 43 years, but
wow.
I was there for 26 and Kathy was there for 21 or 22. And it's when there's these mainstays in Philadelphia broadcasting or broadcasting in general, and then there are abrupt changes, it leaves a mark. And maybe, Greg, that's part of the reason why you stopped listening, because these things that you were used to weren't there anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I don't like change. It's like when you go to a restaurant, I'm going to get one of 3 dishes.
It's a cheeseburger, the appetizer combo, or what was your other?
My wife and I were going to see The Odyssey tonight, and before we're going to go to Red Robin. My mom's coming to watch the kids, and we're going to go to Red Robin, and I'm going to get the onion ring tower, and I never change it up because it's always just good, and that's but I'll tell you, and it seems like now, I mean, you mentioned change, and, I saw, I don't know if you saw the whole thing going on with Veeps and all the layoffs and they do and magazines and stuff, but it just seems like radio and it's just, everything is changing so much now, and it's shifting toward, I don't want to be it's shifting toward AI guy, but or everyone's just getting let go and everything is so different, where I feel like in 5-10 years, radio is going to look a lot different, and everything is just changing to me, and I don't like it. So I guess that's what I'm getting at. I don't know if I fully like the changes that are happening.
Yeah, and I don't think we know what it's shifting to either. So part of the change is the uncertainty as to what's coming next. And when you stopped watching movies on VHS and started watching them on DVD, you're still watching the same movies, right? You're getting Fletch on DVD instead of it being on a VHS copy that you burnt into the ground. And but people's listening habits, and it's not just listening habits, right? It's consuming anything, any content. And that's where there's this giant shift in radio in particular, which is, the medium that I know best, has changed over the last 20 years, but really 10 to 15, is that it's not that you're listening to another radio station or even listening to another podcast. It's anything that grabs your attention is the competition for radio. And that's Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and just go down the list. So, my son's 19 years old, and I don't think that he dislikes radio. I don't think that he has a distaste for it or wouldn't consume content that way. And there are some programs that he likes listening to, but he's not tuning in to 93.3 in the morning to listen to Preston and Steve from 6 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. That way of consuming a product is gone, probably, right? And probably to never return. And then, not to be too doomsdayish about it, but the future of radio won't have, in my humble opinion, Pierre Roberts or Preston's and Steve's and Howard Stern's and people that are these icons of what radio once was, because there's no minor leagues for that anymore. And you used to work in Harrisburg with the hope that you're going to get to Pittsburgh and then maybe go to Philly, and if you're really lucky, go to New York. The Private Parts movie with Stern is a really good example of that.
That's
Like,
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's the only way that I know what's the
Right.
market you're going to.
That's right. And he did it, right? And he in large part because he started doing well in Philadelphia, he started doing well at YSP. He was able to syndicate nationally. And, Howard I think he just announced that he's going down to 1 day a week if he hasn't already. And like, this is not a slight on Howard Stern because I wouldn't have had a job for as long as I did if not for him. But like, his impact on the social landscape now is nothing like what it once was. And that's just the reality of it. And so, um, I don't know what MMR is going to look like in 10 years, but moreover, I don't know what radio is going to look like in 10 years. And it is sad. I don't like that. I grew up with it as well. I grew up listening to Pierre and John DeBella and Morning Zoo and everybody, Bubba John Stevens, the Cindy Drew and whatever. It's not having that aspect sucks. And I'll miss it when it's gone because at some point, sooner or later, it will be. But it might not be for another 20 years.
No one knows. No one knows exactly when. But yeah, like you're saying, the personalities are leaving, but people will still consume something.
Right.
It's just what does that look like? Not a live on the air broadcasting of personalities. It's the pre-recorded, edited.
It's a fucking podcast at that point. I mean, not knocking podcasts, but it becomes a podcast, and you shift it to be whatever the fuck you want it to be, and you're missing out on. It's like if SNL was like like not recorded live almost, and then it's just every other movie or every other. And I mean, it's not radio, but now even like TV shows aren't like, you don't flip through the TV guide and say, all right, at 8 p.m. I got to turn FX on. Like, no, the whole season of The Bears dropped on Hulu. And that's how you watch it, and then
it's
maybe
on demand,
they'll show it's on
not
demand.
A live thing that you're looking forward to.
Yeah, like gone are the days of and granted that's pre-recorded shit, but same thing. Like I used to love, all right, Saturday or Wednesday night, 10 p.m. new South Park episode. And granted, I shouldn't have been watching that shit when I was in first grade, but
you should not.
but like I enjoyed, or what was TGIF, right? And you'd get like Full House and like that was my shit, man. And gone, poof. And Christ, and I don't want to sound like the old boomer, but like it used to be, it was cheaper. You'd cut the cable, you'd cut the cord, and then streaming was cheaper. But now streaming is way more expensive to get all the fucking things. And we have them all, and I hate it because it's like $20 comes out, another $24.99, another $20. Like it's just not affordable anymore. I don't know.
And when it comes to like radio shows and podcasts and whatever, I firmly believe that good content will still rise to the top. Like you have to put on a good show, which is in part why Preston and Steve are still successful and doing that show. It still gets good ratings. From a business perspective, it's still a good, profitable show that makes money for the radio station. And so a good show is still going to last. If it's a live morning show on a radio frequency, that might be a different model. And that's where the evolution comes in. But you're right. I mean, like there's no appointment TV anymore. There's not a lot of stuff that you feel compelled to tune in to see it live, except for sports, in my world anyway. I like watching a Flyers game or a Phillies game, and I don't like watching it after it's happened. So I'll sit down at 7 o'clock and turn those games on. But yeah, for the most part, like we watch what we want when we want, or we listen to what we want when we want, and that's the norm. I mean, it's not even abnormal anymore. So yeah, and it's from 2004 when I started on Preston and Steve to 2010. We got a lot of people engaged with that show because of the TV show Lost. It was on Wednesday nights every week. It became appointment television. We talked about it every Thursday morning. And people that loved Lost and listen in Philadelphia, like we created these online forums that I managed. So I'm staying up like until midnight, 1, 2 in the morning on Wednesday night and a Thursday morning, like monitoring these things, making sure people aren't writing douchey things. And like, and then on Thursday mornings, we would talk about what happened in the night before. And we became friendly with cast members of Lost and Michael Giacchino, the composer, he's South Philly guy, South Jersey guy. You know, all of these relationships that we began because of that TV show, but it also was reinforced on the radio show. So like there was this cool symbiotic relationship, and that was because you watched Lost on Wednesday night. And if you didn't, maybe you DVR'd it, but
sure.
you know, you missed out. So there was the FOMO feeling of it as well. Like you're not, oh, I didn't watch Lost at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever it was on Wednesday night. I can't even listen to Preston and Steve the next day. You know, like that part of it, it was a really cool reinforcement of the TV show and the radio show and the timing in which you watched and listened.
Mine was Chappelle Show.
Okay.
I was in high school when the Chappelle Show came out, and if you came into school on I don't know whatever the day after, and you didn't know what the Little John sketch, like you were just like,
lame.
huh? What are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't watch Chappelle last night, nerd.
It's FOMO. You missed out on something.
Yeah. What is it now, though? What do I don't want to say the kids. What is there something like that?
Even so, now, like if you, Christ, there's a fucking companion video before the episode even comes out for a show now. So back
if you didn't watch House of the Dragon,
you weren't on YouTube. Like now, I'm watching. All right, well, I don't really understand what happens on House of the Dragon 9 times out of 10. So then I'll go and watch a YouTube video to make it, dumb it down for me. But you couldn't do that before. So yeah, you would have to hope that someone was doing some sort of, like they were doing a recap or they were talking about it. So that way,
actually Lost is a great example of that
because
oh my God, what the heck is that smoke monster?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Online forums and fan interaction. And no, you're absolutely right. And now you default to the YouTube video on it. And I mean, there's the comments section, I guess, but like, yeah, it was these forums. And those conversations continued on for days and days and days. And then, the season finale meant something and the season premiere meant something. And I don't know, like The Bear is really popular. House of the Dragon, Game of the Thrones stuff, like these things do well. Marvel movies, I guess, might be an example of, or The Odyssey, like you were talking about earlier. Like there are things that you want to go see and experience in an audience form or in a communal way. Concerts are a great example. People still like going to concerts.
True.
Despite the high cost of going to these concerts. And I worked in radio for a long time. It boggles my mind just as much as boggles anybody else's. But you're still going to pay and go because you want to hang out with 30,000 other Dave Matthews fans, or go see U2, or the Foo Fighters are at the Link next week. So like these things still exist.
Are they? I didn't know that. I might need to go.
They're big enough to play the Link still. So like those experiences exist and people are willing to part with their dollars to be a part of those types of things. But they're fewer and further between.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, I don't mind spending money on food or live like art
experiences.
Yeah. So concerts, Broadway, like that's the type of shit that just, I know, I think the last concert I went to was at the Wells Fargo Center, and I think it was probably a couple, like big concert, the 1975 played, and I think it was a few years back. And I remember buying the tickets from someone who was doing like speculative selling on StubHub before the tickets were dropped to the public, because I was so afraid of not being able to get them. And then I was able to get them, and then I couldn't resell those tickets. So
wait, you pre-ordered your tickets from somebody that didn't have the tickets?
And StubHub isn't supposed to be doing the speculative selling, but they do it anyway. And I tried to like, hey, this is against your policy. Well, they didn't refund it. But that's like, I love, and I know some people bitch and like, well, tickets shouldn't be so expensive. And yeah, granted, like it sucks ass spending the money, but I'll do it. And I'll get the t-shirt too when I go. And
well,
maybe
because you spent all this money on the
margarita
ticket.
and the guitar, but yeah, it's just an experience, and I'm here for, because you know what? Hopefully, I'll leave feeling inspired. And so, like, I don't know what it is, but I'll just feel like I need to do something. It's like you watch these people on this stage and everyone's singing along and it's, the vibes are great. Well, how do I do something that inspires people and really brings people together? And then, I normally just come home and like smoke pot and go to sleep. But
you felt inspired for a little bit.
I felt inspired there.
Can I tell you who's doing it right now? And I'm excited. We're actually going to this upcoming week. Banana Ball, like the Savannah Bananas.
Perfect example.
Won the lottery to buy the tickets, and then we bought the tickets, and I think we could buy 5, and we've bought all 5 of those tickets. But they could sell those tickets for so much more money.
Yeah.
But they don't because they want everyone to be able to go to those games.
Yeah.
And they also sell out.
That's a perfect example.
Wasn't that like
go.
Jesse Cole's like mission was, hey, the tickets are always going to be like what they cost. They don't third party sell them. Like you get them through our lottery system or your SOL. Like you don't get to go. So Eric, you're seeing who's
I don't know the two teams. It's going to be in Delaware. They're at the Frawley Stadium where the Blue Rocks play. I don't know the two teams.
Wow.
Because
that's a small stadium for them, isn't it?
It is a small stadium. They usually go to like college football stadiums, which are absolutely massive, and they just turn it sideways, which perspective, this always fucked me up. Like, I didn't know you could play a diamond baseball game in a football arena. Like, I was like, that doesn't make any sense, but I've seen them do it.
I mean, for all these stadiums, I love it there, man. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've been going since I was a kid. It's fun.
I like that it's close to us.
I'm
I'm bah humbug. I don't want to drive up to Philly. I do because that's where people play, but if I could just drive to Wilmington,
there's something
not
really
pay for parking.
There's a lot of romance in minor league ball and small ballparks. So the players are more accessible. Obviously, it's much more family friendly. It's much more affordable. Lehigh Valley's got a great ballpark. Reading has a really cool ballpark. My dad is a baseball nut, so we spent a lot of time growing up going to all of the different major league parks. Anytime we would travel, he would check the schedules in advance. So if we were going to go to New England, he'd make sure that the Red Sox were home so we could go see a game at Fenway. And, I've been lucky enough to go to a lot of ballparks growing up, but then it expanded into minor league parks. And the Wilmington one is incredible. And it's great. And I'm surprised that Savannah's playing there, but that's really cool because it's going to be so much fun for everybody in attendance. And to the bigger point, like that is something that you want to be a part of because of the communal aspect of it, because it's not only the FOMO, but you're like, man, it's just fun. You want to pay to escape for a couple of hours, and boy, can you with a product like that.
I'm jealous. I put in for the lottery and we didn't get picked, so that's cool that you got 5 tickets and didn't offer me one.
Yeah, sorry, you can't come.
Yeah, that's fine too. Yeah.
You know what? I'll tell you guys one thing that I learned while working at a radio station. Unless it's the Rolling Stones, at the Tower Theater or something like that, like sold out never really means sold out. There's always a way in. Greg, I bless you for doing the thing that you did for the 1975, but that was so unnecessary. Like,
I know. And I realized that as I think I Klarna'd it. So after 24 easy months of 30,
you just got done paying them tickets off.
It's finally paid off. Yeah. So I will never do that again.
Go to the box office. Always go to the box office venue if you can. Like make a trip to go to Camden if you're going to see a show there. Instead of dealing with online brokers, dealing with a person at the box office at the venue is always a better way to get a ticket. And so often, the day of the show, the band or the venue will release tickets last minute. So you can almost always get tickets at face value day of. And I would never overpay for tickets. There's few shows that I've been very proud to have bought good seats for, and I don't mind. I'm like you guys, I don't mind paying for it. I bought 6th row or 7th row for Paul McCartney a few years ago, and it was not a cheap ticket, but it was Paul McCartney, and it was an incredible, incredible show. And I'm really, really glad I spent that money. That was at the ballpark, and I just didn't want to be upstairs somewhere. I'm a snob when it comes to that type of stuff. But I was like, if I'm going to go see Paul McCartney and he's going to be at the ballpark, I want to buy good tickets, and so I did. But yeah, like if you can if you can get down to the venue and buy the tickets in person, you won't have to go through that third party nonsense that you did.
Yeah, Nick, you're giving me like, is this real? Is this life hack stuff that I just didn't know about? Like,
Well-
I know it sounds dumb, but I remember being 17 years old and I had to go to fucking Boscov's and they had the Ticket Master back then machine is where I had to go buy tickets. And then, of course, so now it's been baked into my brain that I've just got to go through them and I've got to pay that processing fee. So you're telling me I could go to the venue that it's gonna happen at and buy tickets for a future date.
Yeah. And if they tell you that it's sold out the day that you go to that venue, consider going back the day of because, mine was way back in the day, West Coast Video, which is so far removed that if anybody under 30 is watching this, they're not going to know what I'm talking about because it was a video store where you would go rent videotapes. And then my version of Boscov's was Strawbridge and Clothier in the King of Prussia Mall. They had a Ticketmaster place. And so I remember many times going there to buy the tickets. But yeah, like this was actually something that I learned from Pierre when I worked for him because people would hit him up for tickets all the time. And sometimes he could help. Often he did. But yeah, going to the venue is always the best way to get the tickets.
I really actually just like going to the dudes that are standing outside like, yo, anybody got any tickets? Anybody got... I love
the
going
really hot t-shirt that's been in their fucking pants all night.
Yeah, they just yank them out and be like, why is this t-shirt wet?
Well, I'll tell you. Okay, so look, we Nick, it's funny. So our Ticketmaster was right next to the Strawbridges and the Christiana Mall. They had this little spot tucked away in a corner. And I remember
back in some weird hallway.
It was always in a weird hallway. And that's what we would do. But I'll tell you, you've probably experienced this way more than Eric and I. But now, like Eric and I, we've been fortunate enough to have been like invited to concerts now from doing the podcast, and
which
we'll
is
go.
Very cool.
And
if I do say so myself,
were really fucking sweet to get like the backstage VIP experience. And it kind of like skews what I want in when I go to a concert now. And it's like, oh man, I gotta like share this bathroom with everyone. I know. It's like, I know it's fucking stupid to think that way, but it is something there. It's so nice to like have your own, mainly my own bathroom.
That's all you really want.
That's all I want, you know?
Yeah, you're fucked.
I know.
It's not happening every time.
Yeah, right. But so now, like, if we go to the Wells Fargo Center, like I'm sorry, it is now the Xfinity. Yes, right.
Sure.
Right. I don't want to piss anyone off. I have to get the club seats because
the private bar with a group bar and group bathroom,
private bathrooms. But it used to be each section had its own bathroom. Now you got to share it a little bit more. But I remember growing up going to, and you would just pass the toilet paper down the fucking row. If you were like, don't shit, it's like shitting on a tour bus, you know, don't do it. But they would just pass the toilet paper along and the line was always out the fucking door. And now it seems that that's, you know, changed a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I got spoiled.
I don't want to press on this a little bit. Are you pooping at concerts?
I have. It's not something that I pride myself on.
I think that's a big faux pas. I don't know. Not that you shouldn't be doing, because when you got to go, you got to go.
You got to go.
You're missing at least 2 songs.
I know.
Yes.
I know. And I'm using a whole roll of toilet paper. So, you know, I'm fucking everything up. But I'll tell you, I before I forget, so Eric and I do very little prep work. So we'll like research who's coming on. Okay. But I know for like Preston and Steve and most other shows, research is involved and you have to actually do some sort of prep.
You guys are doing your homework.
You're doing your homework. How much time is going into the before and like, all right, tomorrow we're talking to so-and-so. Like, were you guys working, like coming in balls early? I mean, Christ, the show started at 6, so that means you have to be there at the ass crack of dawn. And then were you staying way later to make sure that you were good for the next day?
Yes and yes. I was usually getting there at about 5:15. We would do a best of segment from 5:30 to 6 and then go live a little bit after 6. And either Casey or I had to be there to run the best of. There was also a traffic that would happen before that. So I really had to be there like 5:30 at the latest. I liked getting in there into the radio station in between 5 and 5:15 just to wake up a little bit and whatever and get going. So Steve Morrison was by far, of everybody on the Preston and Steve show, the most well researched. Steve took a lot of time, made a lot of effort to dig deep. If you listen to an interview on the Preston and Steve show, so many times you'll hear the guest say to Steve in particular, "Wow, I didn't know you knew that," or "Oh, man, you've done your research." And each guy has their strengths for sure. Preston is incredibly musically knowledgeable, and Preston can find ways in to connect with somebody that's remarkable. And so you'll see it from both of the guys. But just as far as like pure research goes, Steve just does a lot. He likes doing it. He's good at it. He's good at digging. And yeah, I mean, he would, if we had a guest on Thursday morning, he would start after the show on Wednesday, and he took it seriously, and you could tell. When I worked for Pierre, that was a huge part of my job when we would get interviews, is to help him do the research and then help him form the questions. And Pierre would have notepads. Pierre would have 3 or 4 hours worth of questions for a half-hour interview or whatever, and obviously would never be able to get to all of them, but he was so well prepared and had so many different things that he was ready to ask because he'd done the research, that it allowed him to have a really good conversation. So Pierre conducted incredibly well-researched, but also great conversational interviews. And I loved doing that on Preston and Steve. A big part of the job for producers on Preston and Steve, and I did it, Casey did it, Marissa Magnotta does it as well, was to book guests. And I would always, the thing that I liked doing the most was finding a guest that I thought would be good on Preston and Steve that maybe the guys hadn't heard of or weren't that familiar with, and then bring them in, or see that somebody cool's coming into town and work the angles of building a Rolodex for 25 years of people that I knew and could help make that happen. And to have them sit down across from us and have it be a good conversation, that was the goal. And it was really fun to be a part of those things. That's one of the things that I miss the most about not being on the show now is, every now and then I'll see on Instagram or whatever, somebody cool is in studio. It's like, oh, I like that guy. I wish I could.
Fuck. There's that FOMO.
Yeah, Mark Norman was on the show a couple of months ago or a month ago or whatever. And I was like, I love that comedian. That guy's terrific. So,
yeah.
But yeah, Steve was very prepared, and he and Pierre shared that in common, and it was impressive. And I liked doing that with and for Pierre, because maybe there would be an artist that I knew a little bit better than he did, or vice versa, and it was a good collaborative thing. Where ultimately it was Pierre's interview, but I loved being the setup guy for that. Like that was really rewarding for me to like plug in a bit of information. Hey, maybe you can ask this way, or even ask this question, and then have that be a part of the interview and actually have it work. Was really rewarding. And the best example of that for me was Eddie Vedder. I love Pearl Jam. My two favorite bands are Pearl Jam and Dave Matthews Band, and we'd had everybody else from Pearl Jam on with Pierre on MMR, Jeff Ament and Mike McCready and Stone Gossard and Matt Cameron, and just hadn't gotten to Eddie. And I was able to be a part of an interview with Pierre Robert and Matt Cord. And Matt eventually took over Pierre's time slot at MMR. And Matt is awesome, and I'm a big fan of his and a big friend of his as well. But yeah, to be a part of that, and then to be able to ask a question or have a conversation with Eddie Vedder, like none of that would have happened had I not been a part of Preston and Steve show and worked for Pierre for as long as I did, because it allowed me the opportunity to work my way into that room. And I believe that I earned that, but I also feel really lucky that I was able to do it. So yeah, it's you'll hear radio interviews where there's no prep, or it's a comedian coming in studio and it's like, hey, tell your jokes, and that's just lazy. And it also just makes for a bad interview. Like comedians don't want that. They want to be a part of a conversation. They're just tired of coming in and doing rote material.
That's what they do all the time. Do their shtick.
It could be a radio show in Sheboygan or, wherever. But if you're going to, it actually turns some people off to radio interviews because they're so tired of doing that, Eric, to your point. Like, Like, nah, I don't want to get up early. I don't want to do that. So that was something that we had to fight as producers. Is like, no, I promise it's worth your time. Like, it will make it a good conversation, will make it a good interview. And more often than not, when people would come on Preston and Steve or on Pierre's show, like, they are selling something. They don't want to sell tickets to a concert or a new record or, a comedy show or whatever. But you want to make them feel comfortable and make them feel appreciated. And a little bit of research goes a long way when it comes to that type of thing.
I'll tell you, it's funny you say that, because so for our podcast, we have 0 questions, and that's what we use when we pitch, like when we reach out to whoever we want or whomever we want to have on, and we'll say, like, we know you're doing the radio thing and you're getting the questions, but if you want to just like come and hang out with us. And some people straight up don't like that. Like, we'll have people that'll say, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds absolutely. Or they'll say, I really like to vet the questions. And so that's not.
Oh, yeah. See, we don't know what's going to come up here.
Right.
So we can't give you those questions.
And it's funny, we had a comedian on a few weeks back, and he was like, did we just talk about, like, we talked about like fucking Totino's pizza rolls for a good 27-ish minutes. And then like Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, but some people are not into that. And I think if I'm listening to something on the radio, I want it to sound like the research was done. I listen to a podcast for like fun, and I know it's going to be an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. So it's a different format. And Eric and I tried to do the questions, and so we'll research the guests, but we would do questions, and man, ChatGPT, I would use it to spit me out 20 questions 2 years ago, and it would say, all right, this is supposed to take 5 minutes. And then you would get someone that would answer it in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And then Eric and I were sitting there keeping our thumbs warm.
Oh, we were very new at this. We were like, oh shit. Oh, wait, this isn't going the way that we had planned.
Yeah,
so we threw it out. We were like, the questions interview model just doesn't work for us at all. That's not really what. So then we discovered that's not what we're here for. We just hang out now. But I think to your point, Nick, is like I love when a show is done and it doesn't feel like that. Of course, you could just pop up questions. And Greg, you do, a shout out to you. You do a great job of that here on our show, where Greg just keeps the show moving. But it's a conversation. It's just like, hey, here's another thing to bring up. I love when the illusion of well-preparedness is there.
Yeah.
Or not even when you are well-prepared and you can tell, but it just feels like a conversation that you're having with the person.
I think that was one of Preston's great strengths. And I know that was Preston's great strength, one of Preston's great strengths. Preston did such a good job at keeping an eye on the clock, keeping everybody involved, knowing when to wrap up a segment, because you do want to leave them wanting more. And then sometimes it's like there's a natural petering out. And most of the time with guests, they're coming in and they want to talk and they have things that they want to share. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth. Occasionally there were bad guests. It really was very rare that people didn't want to be there or didn't want to have much to say. But if you listen to old segments of Preston and Steve, even early MMR days, there would be breaks that were 8 minutes long, 10 minutes long. And it was because either the interview we ran out of stuff to talk about or whatever. Like, the show got longer and the segments got longer the longer the show's been around. And then it turned into a show where Preston would, turn around and we'd be talking about potato salad for 25 minutes or Totino's or Josh Allen or whatever. And it's just like, how the hell did we talk about that for 25 minutes? And it was just like, it was friends shooting the shit, telling funny stories. And then again, to Preston's strength, making sure that the listeners were involved. The listeners really were the sixth member of that show. Phone calls, texts that were coming in. Back in the day, it was AOL instant messages that would pop up. And part of my job when I worked on Preston and Steve was Preston and I shared a screen. And so, I would research stuff on the fly and be like, hey, look at this article that I just pulled up that's relevant to the thing that we're talking about or whatever, or pull up a text that came in, and so it's me monitoring that and letting Preston know that exists if he wants to go to it. So that collaborative effort was I was psyched to be a part of it. It's funny because in 2020, during the worst of the weird ass COVID times, I worked from home for like 3 months, something like that, and it sucked because I wasn't in the room to share the vibe with the guys. And I couldn't do the things that I'd gotten so used to doing by being 5 feet away from where Preston was, or looking over at Steve and knowing that a joke was coming or whatever. Like being in the same room. Some radio shows do it successfully, being in different parts of the country or whatever. And I mean live radio shows, but there was something very important about being in the same room at the same time with that show to make it feel collaborative and go as well as it could. And when that was removed and got taken away from us for a few months, we felt it, and like it was uncomfortable.
Well,
wait, before I do you have any questions for me? Because I feel like I can ramble on forever too. So is there anything that you wanted to ask before this even started that you didn't get to ask yet?
Fortunately for you, we don't do those. Just
No, not really.
No, well, I was so okay. So I was going to ask about bad interviews, but you touched on that because you've probably cut things short before, I'm sure. Like Eric and I are not good enough where we'll just we've only had a few and we just kept it going, instead of being like, we're done.
Because it does exactly feel like pulling teeth. And there's only so long that you can come on, give me
what you got.
Give me something. So we'll just kind of this is what makes us work any bit at all, is that we could just go. Me and him will just shoot the shit and just go, hey, guest, what do you think about that?
Right.
Yeah, come on.
But it takes some training from for the guest to be able to do that, and I don't think the three of us would have been able to have this conversation. I wouldn't have been able to have this conversation 25 years ago. I've learned over time when to start, when to stop, when to insert things that I feel like are pertinent. And that was something that I got really well trained on by being in a room with 4 other people, 5 people total, that wanted to talk, wanted to, have things to say. And there were plenty of times where I would pull back because Casey knew more about something, or Casey would pull back because it was somebody that I had booked, or that, whatever. And it was the Preston and Steve show. So we would always default to those two guys. Casey always liked to joke that we were the show part of the Preston and Steve show, but we were a part of it. And so if we felt like we had something to contribute, we would. And so, I know exactly what you guys are talking about. It does take some effort and some training. You can't just bullshit about nothing and have that be compelling. You need to there needs to be an angle, and there needs to be sort of a bigger picture. Like, what are we talking about? This isn't just people talking just about Totino's, just about Josh Allen, right? There has to be a bigger, a bigger whole concept there.
Well, it's funny you say that. So, Nick, Eric and I kind of got our start mukbanging.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this was probably 10, 11 years ago at this point. And then, to your point, someone said, you guys should start a podcast. Uh-huh. So Eric and I thought, okay, we're going to talk about nothing, just the two of us, and people are going to love it.
Because that's all we did in these, we would do we're going live on Facebook. So, I would say family and friends and, people that you friend requested on Facebook in 2008 because you saw them at a party and said, oh, we should totally be friends. And you friend request everybody. They would tune in and we were like, wow, this is easy. We opened a GoFundMe. We were like, help fund our eating habits, like our lunches, and we'll just bullshit and talk to shit. So it was like this kind of surreal thing, very brief. We got fat and in the hospital. It was just not good.
Almost died. Yeah.
Don't do it. It was fun. We have said this a few times. We love food, but it's not a sustainable business model for us. So we figured we would do this and do the same thing and just bullshit and hang. And it was not as easy as we thought it was.
And not only was it not easy, but it was a learning experience for Eric and I. It was stupid. And it was bad. Like, the episodes were bad and no one listened. But I think for Eric and I, we just kept showing up each fucking week to record them. And then we realized how to do it, like how to talk and how to record. We knew nothing about fucking recording or microphone placement or anything, but it helped us learn. So I think there was good to come out of it, but good God, it was fucking bad. For like 20 minutes, we would sit there and suck on hard candies and tell people what we were doing because there was no video. And people were like, what the fuck is this? This is the dumbest shit we've ever listened to.
Learning experience.
It was.
I would argue that we still don't know shit.
Yeah,
We're
right.
still just kind of like making it go, and
fortunately, we're past episode 100, and that's the
a wise man once told us, out of any podcast, the first 99 episodes suck.
Yeah, so
it's like a comedian getting up on stage. Anytime you try an open mic or whatever, like it's just hard. Like getting people to laugh is really, really difficult. And you can be the funniest guy in your office, but you might not be, and probably won't be, a good stand-up comedian. And when comedians go and they fail, they have to, and they should expect to. And I think that's why there's this badge of honor in bombing, because you know that, like, all right, well, I'm trying this, and there might be a concept here, and I believe in this concept, but man, do I have to work on it. And I'm going to work on it and work on it and work on it. And then hopefully, maybe, if I'm lucky, it'll get better, or the audience will react differently if I change these two things. So I have a lot of respect for comedians, and they fail far more often than they succeed. But it takes work, and it's the truth in any craft, right? Is like you have to keep at it. And just as a quick side note, like there should absolutely be a best picture for comedies every year in the Oscars. Like comedies are hard and they get dismissed for no reason other than they're silly or they're slapstick or whatever. Fuck you. It's dramas. Yeah. It's easier to make somebody cry. Shoot a dog in the face. I'm going to cry.
Yes. We were talking about that. So like, okay, it's always some really obscure movie that fucking wins, and it's like, what the fuck?
I'm
and
not
everyone's like,
watching those movies.
Oh, wasn't it it was beautiful. And I was like, that movie was boring as hell. Give me someone stepping on a shovel and getting smacked in the face. Or give me that.
You know what I just watched? A YouTube video just popped up because YouTube knows me. Yeah. It was like 20 facts about Grandma's Boy that you didn't know. Holy shit, I love Grandma's Boy so much. Oh, you know what it was? It was probably because I'm watching Super Troopers came out actually today as the day. Yeah. I love Super Troopers. I can't wait to give those guys my money. But Greg, what were they getting on
if it's a comedy, you're most likely getting like a 30 to a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
And I don't care. I love those movies. I'm going to watch it, and even if that movie isn't good, I'll still laugh.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and we were literally having this conversation yesterday, and we were like, hey, I'll trust the Rotten Tomatoes score for like a drama or like, but if it's a comedy or like a horror movie, I don't trust. I'll trust the critic score, or not the critic, the fan, the audience score over the critic score, because I feel like there is, unless it's, now though, horror movies are starting to, Obsession and The Back Rooms, like all these movies are starting to, but ironically enough, they're all done by fucking comedians.
Yeah.
And so it's just such a weird,
I love everything about that.
Well, and with the Odyssey being too woke or whatever. But I'm really excited to go see that tonight.
Yeah.
Even though I know it's going to be 3 hours. I love Christopher Nolan. And so like, I'm looking forward to that. But again, comedy movies, yes, I agree. They need to get far more respect than they do.
Yeah. I haven't seen the Odyssey yet. I really want to. I want to see it with my son in IMAX, and because he's a big Christopher Nolan fan too. And, so I'm hoping to see that next week. As we've been talking about comedies, this is something that I feel like I've missed out on over the last 10 years or so, is that like going to the theater and laughing with the audience about stuff. Some Farrelly Brothers movie. I went and saw Something About Mary with my friend Matt, and the zipper and the ball scene. I just like. I missed the next 3 jokes because I was laughing so damn hard, and that's a palpable memory in my life of going to see a ridiculously funny movie with friends and everybody in the audience laughing at it at the same time. And like the crowd reaction to in Marvel movies when something great happens in Avengers Endgame or whatever, like that stuff is cool. The communal nature of seeing something in the same time as everybody else and seeing it for the first time as everybody else. You're never going to get a laugh like that first laugh. And again, it's hard. Crafting a joke and writing a joke and then performing it on screen in a movie is not an easy task, or else everybody would do it.
It's so true. Like we went and saw the fucking Minions movie, and and there were a couple like laughs, but I can't remember the last time I pissed my pants in a theater.
I could tell you the last time I pissed my pants in a theater, the new Naked Gun movie.
Okay.
I love that so much. I wanted to go back. I ended up watching it again stoned, and it was funnier the second time I watched it for some reason. I love that kind of comedy.
Yeah, I do too. And I saw that with a group of friends down the shore, and people were half paying attention. And I was like, come on, guys, I want to watch this movie, and I want to watch it with you guys. And I know that it's a funny movie. I remember laughing at it, but I didn't see it in the theater with people who were there for the same reason. It's when you're in a living room and people are passing around drinks, and like it's different than being there's a church aspect of being in the theater together. Like you were all there for the same reason. So shut the fuck up and watch the movie, because I want to laugh when the joke is delivered.
I can't stand. It's not that I can't stand it, but going to the movies.
Whatever you're about to say, I do it to you when we go. But go ahead, Greg. Go.
Okay.
I go. Hey, is that the guy from? I do it to you all the time.
And I hate that.
I try not to, because I know what you're gonna say.
I can't. But my biggest thing is when somebody repeats something that was just fucking said in the movie. And I'm sorry if you guys do that, but I'm like, motherfucker, we just heard that person say that. Like, don't do that. But also, yes, the asking of the questions.
Is that the guy? Ready? I'm gonna. They're foreshadowing something, Greg. This is about to happen. Ready?
I said, motherfucker, I'm watching this for the first time, just like
I'm watching this with you, bitch.
I know. Well, now it's the like we'll go and see. We saw Toy Story 5 with the kids, and every 5 minutes I have to pee. And it's like, man, you just fucking went. Like, I'm missing. This is fire. I've been waiting years to watch.
This is for you as much as it is for them.
Yeah, you just can you like hold it, or but yeah, definitely the talking drives me nuts. I just want to watch the movie, especially because also movies aren't cheap. I just spent $100 on popcorn, my nachos, my soda, and my candy, and so I want to watch the movie. Eric.
We're
All right, noted. Is that why you went to see Spider-Man without me?
Yeah. No, of course not. How do you guys feel about people real fast wearing masks to a movie?
Oh, like medical masks?
No, not medical masks, like full face. So we saw Spider-Man on Friday, and this dude was fully dressed as Spider-Man. It freaked my wife out.
Yeah. Oh, because she's worried about like.
Well, she's always worried about like something happening at like always, ever since the Dark Knight Rises happened.
Sure, yeah.
Like that's been a real fear of hers. But I was like, Jen, I could smell the dude from here. You're probably fine, but you never know. But and I was like, any superhero movie, people are dressing up and they're gonna wear the mask, especially Spider-Man. But he had the full like zip up. It was like zipped from the back.
From back, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I went and saw one of the Harry Potter movies, and it was like the premiere with the radio station. So it was 2008, 2009, something like that. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it was towards the end. And they're Deathly Hallows or Half-Blood Prince. And there was a guy sitting 2 people over from me, dressed head to toe as Professor Moody. And that's a bit of a not an obscure character, but it's not Harry or Ron or Hermione or and I'm like, Hagrid or anything like that. And he was delivering commentary as Professor Mad-Eye Moody during the movie.
The fuck?
With a fake British accent. And I'm just like, and I think it's Brendan Gleeson that plays that character.
Yeah.
Right. So he was doing his best Brendan Gleeson impression. And it look, my official take on it is, does this make this guy happy? Okay, yes, and if you want to go see Spider-Man and you want to wear your Spider-Man mask and like that brings you more joy and it doesn't really affect anybody around you, okay. But like, come on,
respectfully, shut the fuck up.
You're not Mad-Eye Moody. And my movie experience is not improved by you delivering those lines. And
you can't do that at home.
Right,
wait till it comes out in 6 months or whatever, and you can do it all that you buy the
or
DVD.
Drop the act in the theater.
Yeah,
dude,
right.
No exaggeration, like no hyperbole. He raised his wand at one point and he goes, "Mischief managed," and I took every bit of me to be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, come on, dog. Save some women for the rest of us.
Right? Yeah. I'm trying to.
Eric and I went and saw The Hateful Eight.
I was just gonna. Yes, this is the story.
And, you know, Tarantino loves a good fucking score in every one of his movies. And this motherfucker was orchestrating the whole goddamn movie.
Because it's the same guy that did The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, Ennio Morricone or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Did the score for that.
Wow.
And he's like, ready, guys. In the middle, like I think we were in the same row as him, and we were looking over, and he was like,
Get out.
Yeah, right. And then he stood up at one point, and it's like, yo, dog, come the fuck on, man. At least he wasn't talking.
Yeah.
right.
He was just
composing.
Just
he was just
appreciating
composing.
the music. You know, I think that's
right.
That's the only Tarantino movie I've not seen, and there's no reason that I haven't seen it. I just never got around to it, and I have it in a queue in one of my streaming services. I never watched that one.
It's
That's
every
okay.
Tarantino movie. I mean,
I enjoy it,
It's
but
good.
the people, when I ask people, that's the one that they say. They were like, "Oh, but The Hateful Eight."
Okay.
Yeah, it was very like the violence was over the top. I enjoyed it too, but also I don't think Tarantino will ever hear this episode. I like Tarantino movies, but I know I'm going to piss off a lot of people.
You don't know that. Doesn't he have his own podcast that he does with
which is a lot of feet.
More. What's his name? The guy that he did. I think he's got a podcast.
I don't know, but I like Tarantino movies, but he's not like my favorite director of all time.
Yeah.
Like I like Christopher Nolan more than Tarantino.
Maybe one way that he'll see this is if we talk shit on him, and
then we clip it.
Okay, Greg, clip this. This is good. This is good stuff.
Fuck
Quentin Tarantino.
Who did we do a bit on and ended up sounding like we hate it? Was it?
It was Bill
Butch Vig.
Butch Vig. Yeah, and for some reason, it just sounded like we were talking a lot of shit on Butch Vig.
And we weren't.
We don't know the guy. He's only done great things.
His legal team reached out with some cease and I'm just kidding.
They didn't.
No.
Yeah, same thing. He's never hearing that episode.
Yeah, no.
In the first 99, don't worry.
I'll say this about Tarantino. He is a great director. I liked all of the movies of his that I've seen. I think Inglourious Basterds is my favorite, and I love it.
Oh, sure.
Terrible actor. He should never put himself in any of his movies. He's just god-awful. His scenes in Reservoir Dogs are awful. His scenes in Pulp Fiction are terrible. Just know that you're a good director. Stay behind the goddamn camera.
Stay there. What's the one? It's like somebody does like an Instagram short or a reel, and they go, I don't know if you have to say the N word. And he's like, well, I do. It's in the script. Yeah, right. But like you wrote the script, so
it's your movie. So yeah, I mean, and is he done? I think he might be
one more, right? I think
one more.
Had that rule that he made himself. I think that he said,
he does too much sometimes.
Any good director only does, however, what 8, 9 films or something.
Wait, what was the last one? Was it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah,
I think so.
Which had a lot of Margot Robbie feet.
Yeah,
like that's
Are they doing a TV show?
Yes,
the stories of
with Timothy. Fucking Raylan Givens, Timothy
Olyphant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's his. So they were, because remember he was like a cowboy or whatever actor in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I'm gonna go rewatch this show.
Yeah,
this movie
so
because I think I only saw that once.
I think we watched it twice, but anyway, yeah. So I think rumor has it it's on the internet. If it's on the internet, it has to be true. That he's getting his own show too.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I liked that movie. I saw it in the theater, and then I liked it more on subsequent viewings. And I think Leo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt are Brad Pitt in that movie he's just
fantastic.
Good. He's so good, and it really made me appreciate him more as an actor. And so I've liked that movie the more that I watched it. But Bastards is still my favorite.
Yeah. Nick, can I ask, have you ever had any interaction with Brad Pitt? Because I hear he's like the nicest dude.
I'll tell you a funny, quick Brad Pitt story. World War Z came out, And Brad Pitt was doing a lot of press for it. And they had 2 screenings of it in King of Prussia in 2 packed theaters. And the rumor was that Brad Pitt was going to stop by and say hello to everybody in the audience. And turns out that rumor was true. So I'm in the first theater. And the reason I knew that this was going to happen was that our friends at the radio station, Allied Advertising, does a lot of the movie promotion around the country, but especially in Philadelphia. And they're like, yeah, we're pretty sure Brad Pitt's going to be in town for this. So I'm in the theater and they're like, just wait, he's going to show up. And I got a good seat. And this was, I don't know what year movie that came out, but I did not have an iPhone. I had a shitty cell phone. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm ready to take the picture. Brad Pitt walks in, the theater goes nuts. I mean, it's Brad Pitt. He's
right
15 yards away or whatever. It was really cool. And he goes, hey, Philly, I just crushed a cheesesteak and man, I love this town. Hope you guys enjoy the movie. And, we put a lot of heart and soul into this. But thanks so much. And, people are hooting and hollering or whatever. And he's like, all right, have a great time. Walks out the back door. What I knew at that moment was he was going to go into the other theater. So I sprint up, I go up the stairs, I go into the other theater where the screening of World War Z is. And he walks in and he's like, hey, Philly, I just crushed a cheesesteak and gotta tell you, man, it was incredible. And I lost it. I was laughing. And I was like, he does this in every city. He does it. He went out, he promoted the movie, but it was verbatim, the same 3 fucking lines. And, I hope you enjoy the movie. We put our heart and soul into it. All right, have a great time. And they walked out and the limo was waiting from the back and he was out. But it was
Do you think that they actually for
ate
some
a cheesesteak?
Oh, yeah, he definitely probably didn't eat a cheesesteak. And do you think that they actually put, I liked World War Z a lot, but do you think he actually put his heart and soul into it? Do you think that every movie has their entire heart and soul? It can't.
Yeah.
It can't.
No, because otherwise they'd have no heart or soul left.
I think it's more believable that he crushed a couple of cheesesteaks.
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like we're about to start talking shit on Brad Pitt right now.
Yeah, right. Because it reminds me of that.
Move over, Butch Vig.
I don't know, Nick, if you watch The Office, but there's when Michael Scott goes to New York and he's like, "This is the only pizza you can get here, authentic," and it's Sbarro.
Yeah.
I just feel like we went to I don't know, fucking Jersey Mike's, and not
or is that Pat's and Geno's in Philly?
Right.
It's this is the spot you got to go to, but it's not the spot. Right. It's just the one that that's known.
But it's funny because when we went, we go down to Florida every year and we're driving and you pass so many signs that say authentic Philly cheesesteaks. Everyone likes to have that model of the authentic Philly cheesesteak. And I like cheesesteaks, but I don't care enough about them where I would be able to tell you
yeah, because you're not a cheesesteaks.
Well, is it Cheese Whiz? Is that what makes it authentic?
Bread, or how they grill the onions. I mean, it's one of those arguments that's really ridiculous and really silly and very pointless. You like what you like. I don't care if you like steak-em. If that's what does it for you,
hell yeah,
go for it. And the Pats and the Geno's argument of it was too touristy. Who gives a shit? If you've never been to Philly before and you want to go to Pats or Geno's, go to Pat's or Geno's.
It gives you a good representation of what it's of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's a great example.
Every time that there's the Eagles are playing on Fox or there's a national Phil's game or whatever, they're gonna do the cutaways to the Art Museum steps and the Liberty Bell and one person grilling cheesesteaks somewhere. And that's
every time.
It's fine. And look, of all the things to be associated with a city, it's not a negative, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
And
it could be worse.
Exactly. Yeah. So
sometimes it is.
It often is worse. Right?
Right.
Yeah. I'll embrace our culinary history, and I love the fact that people. But yeah, if you're going to go out and get a cheesesteak outside of Philadelphia and it's an authentic Philadelphia cheesesteak, it probably isn't. I lived in Southern California for a little bit in Manhattan Beach. I was really lucky. And there was a guy who's from Philly and he imported the bread, if not every day, every other day. And his entire goal was to make it as authentic a Philly cheesesteak as he could. And for hoagie shop in Manhattan Beach, he did a really damn good job, and it was a nice taste to home. Yeah. But he took it seriously.
what's the bread? Is it Amoroso's?
Yeah,
Is that
usually,
like
yeah.
Which is, but it's nice. I mean, Christ, every grocery store in Delaware sells it. So like that's if I'm making like meatball subs or something, like
Right.
it has to be, or like a scrapple sandwich. You got to use the old scrapple sandwich. Yeah, right. But I guess like we're spoiled being here because we're close enough where we can kind of get like a buddy of ours, him and his wife will drive to Philly to get spaghetti and meatballs, which blows my fucking mind because you can get that just about anywhere and it's probably fine,
Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, Nick, man, thank you so much for taking the time to just sit down and talk with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. You
that we
guys
were
are really
able
easy to chat with. Thank you for the invite in the first place. And
Yeah.
it's I'll say this as we're wrapping up. I do miss having a microphone and having an audience to talk to. I love doing podcasts. I love talking about MMR and my time there. A lot of people are asking me what I'm up to, and I have a few things kind of in the works, a couple part-time jobs, which are pretty cool. But I'm also enjoying downtime, and I've been traveling a lot and taking care of my dad, which has been pretty time consuming. But fortunately, he's doing really well today. Knock on wood. So happy about that. But it's great having conversations like this, and I miss MMR. I miss the Preston and Steve show. I do not regret my decision at all to leave. I'm a happier person. I think I'm better off, and I'm excited about whatever comes next. But it's always good to talk about that radio station and that show in particular because of the impact that it's had on people. And it's really nice to hear stories like the ones you guys have shared about how much Preston and Steve show and how much MMR has meant to you guys. And I'm sure you wouldn't be doing what you're doing if not for that radio station and that show. So it's cool to be included in a show where we can talk about these things with a little bit of reverence and respect. And so thank you guys again for having me on.
We appreciate the update. That's fantastic. I know that people are missing you. So to hear that update, I think people will also really appreciate that too.
Yeah. I mean, look, life is short. And if there's one thing that I learned from Pierre's passing is you never know how many trips around the sun you're going to get. And Pierre was only 70 years old when he died. And I miss him every day. There's that Colbert question to Keanu Reeves of, what happens, Keanu Reeves, when we die? And Keanu says, I know that those who love us will miss us when we're gone. And that's how I feel about Pierre. Everybody who loved him, we miss him. But for Pierre, what a great fucking way to go out, man. Like I was saying, he was at work one day, no suffering. And the next day he was gone and on to the next Pierre Robert adventure. So, we don't know how long we have, and I plan on enjoying life. I've been lucky enough to do some cool things over the last year, and I have a big road trip coming up in a couple of weeks, which I'm really excited about. I'm driving out to Washington State. I'm going to go see Dave Matthews Band at the Gorge for Labor Day weekend and meeting some friends out there. So I'm taking a big RV trip. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. And anytime you guys want to check in, I'd love to continue the conversation.
Thanks for listening to Daddy's the Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a review, and give us a like. We'll see you next time.